And hello, everyone. Thank you so much for showing up and for these other lovely ladies to join me here live on video. It turns out that you can only have 4 guests. I didn't know there was a limit on Crowdcast. There isn't on any of the other software that I've used for these things. I can have as many guests as I invite. So we're going to see if we can maybe rotate Haley in. But so far, our trial run on that didn't work. But we'll see if it will eventually. And so thank you for joining me. We're going to talk today about starting the morning, which is kind of could be an emotionally fraught topic. I know some of us have maybe guilt or just like discouragement on the mornings, but this isn't going to be a rah, everyone should be up before their kids kind of a conversation, but more about sharing what has worked, what hasn't worked, and kind of how things can be different in different phases of life. People hearing nothing. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I hear you.
Okay. If you can't hear, let's see. Could someone in the chat box tell people who can't hear that if they reload their browser page, it should work? So, yay. That's always okay. Good people can hear. But yeah, Crowdcast is great where if you have any kind of technical troubles, you can reload the browser and it'll pop right back up and it should all work. So, including if you can't see. All right, so let's start with some introductions. I haven't met any of you guys in real life. I have met Haley in real life. She showed up at my church one morning, which was fun. They were visiting town. So if you, I think of you guys as like Instagram friends. That's where I kind of see you guys around. But so if you go to introduce yourself, I don't know if we all see each other in the same order, but let's start with Nina and go around.
Hi, I'm Nina, and my husband and I live on an island in Washington near Canada, and we have 2 little boys who are almost 5 and 6, and my husband works at the local hospital here.
Okay. And you guys homeschool? I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat. You're homeschool and how many
We
kids?
homeschool 2 kids.
Yes.
And we just started this year with my 6-year-old.
Yay. Okay. Now my screen is
Are you looking at me?
Like, who's next?
How about Nelleke?
All right. I'm Nelleke. I'm married to Stephen, and I have 4 boys, aged 9 down to 2. And I live in Prince Edward Island in Canada. And I homeschool as well, Charlotte Mason style. And did you want me to know anything else about me?
How old are your kids?
9 down to 2. 9, 7, 5, and 2. All boys.
Lots of boy moms here then.
Yeah.
All right, Stephanie?
So I'm Stephanie, and I have 3 kids. I have a girl. She's my oldest. So she's 7th grade. She's 12, and then I have 2 boys, 9 and 7, so 4th and 2nd grade, and we homeschool. That's why I have to think really hard about what grade they're in, of course. And my husband is a public school teacher, so that kind of drives the things that we do during our school year and the morning. So we homeschool classically, well-trained mind. So
yeah, I can see. Is that spell?
Yeah, that's all about spelling.
We don't use that, but it looks familiar. I've seen it.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of have a range of ages and stages. And so I think, oh, and my agenda just went away. So what kind of, okay, so first, the first question was going to be, do you get up before the kids?
Yes.
Maybe first we should start off with whether or not you're morning people. And we didn't really prep too much before this. So I just said, oh, these people would be fun to talk to. And I have no idea. So maybe I should have checked and made sure I had like someone who wasn't.
A variety.
I don't know.
I'm not a morning person.
Okay, you're not. I wonder, maybe
really. Although
people read my stuff. I don't know.
But maybe I should say that I'm not a morning person either. So I probably could go either way, but naturally I tend to gravitate towards going to bed late and getting up sort of late. But I do like to get up before my kids, because I find that the day just goes so much better when I do, that I find it's worth it for me. I'm also an introvert, and I find that the morning is the best time to have productive me time. So if I have me time in the evening, it tends to be screen time or just more winding down. Whereas in the morning, I find it a better time to work on projects that are important to me. Like if I have a goal for the year or something that I want to work towards, I find morning, while it's still quiet, the best time to do that. So that's why I find it worth it to work on getting up early. Yeah.
Nina, I didn't hear. Are you a morning person?
I am a morning person, but I do not get up super early. Like I said, my husband works at the hospital and he works 12-hour shifts. And I would just not see him if I didn't stay up in the evening. So I get up about half an hour to an hour before my kids.
Okay. So a little bit before the kids, but not super early. And that is true. You know, your husband's schedule is one of the factors for sure.
Right. Yeah. Like it or not.
Yep. That's how we have to adjust. So I see some questions on stages. So it doesn't sound like, so I have a teenager. I have 5 kids from 14, and then my youngest is 5. So none of us are in really the baby stage anymore, but we've just recently been there too. You know, all of us have done it several times. So
We don't forget.
No.
Well, I don't know. I think you do forget how challenging it was.
True.
Otherwise, you wouldn't do it again. Don't forget a little bit.
There's that.
I would say if somebody asked if we, get up before our kids when they're babies, and I will say my oldest son, he sleep trained really well, and I did, but my youngest son, the first year, he was not sleeping through the night, and I did not get up before the kids because I had a long day by myself, and if I wasn't getting enough sleep, I would just be crappy. So I think, you have to prioritize sleep and just, make it work for the season that you're in.
Yeah.
I agree. I had 2 that were very bad sleepers, and there was no way. I got up with them, right? So I did definitely get up before some kids were up, but I went back to sleep afterwards.
Yeah.
Because, and I think that especially if we're thinking about the morning time and being a productive time, which is nice when it can happen, but it can't always happen. So it's like looking at that life situation and saying, well, where am I at right now? And knowing that that's not necessarily going to be permanent, but what factors are playing into the situation right now? Do I have a baby who's not sleeping? What's my husband's work schedule? What's the family routine. So how has that changed? Like, have you always done the same thing? I think we've already started. None of us have. So what are different things that have worked at different times?
Well, I think, like you said, getting up when the kids get up, if you are being woken up throughout the night, getting sleep when you can. I know everyone, tells a young mother to nap in the baby nap, and I didn't do that. I wish I had. Like, I wish I could have mastered that.
Anyone else? Different things that have worked at different times?
It didn't work very well for me to get up early when my children were still nursing. Depending. Sometimes one would end up in bed and would still be in bed with me in the morning. And then I would, then it would be hard to get up without waking the baby. And then I would just stay in. And what I would do then, because one of the things I wanted to do when I got up was read my Bible and whatever. When I did that, I would use my phone, an app, a podcast app on my phone to listen to a Bible reading instead of actual reading. So that would help me to do that anyway, even though I couldn't get up that moment.
Yeah. That's a good thing to look at what resources are available. Just kind of rethink, like, it doesn't have, we often have an ideal in our mind, like it should look like this. And if it can't look like this, then, I'll go back to sleep or what, I won't do anything. But, there are often different ways to work things out.
Yeah, it can be hard to make it a habit if it happens off and on. Like when I was nursing and had the baby in the bed sometimes, it can be easy to just say, well, it hasn't worked 3 days this week already. I might as well give up this week and try again next week.
Next week's always better.
Yeah. But I try to, if it works today, I'll do it today. Yeah.
And to have like a plan A and a plan B. Okay, this is the plan A day, this is a plan B day. And that's not like this is a worse day. This is just, we're doing it different this day.
Definitely.
So if you do get up before your kids, have you had to train them, or, what have you done? Because sometimes when we get up early, they start getting up early.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how big anybody else's houses are. I know, Misty, you have a basement, but we don't. So when somebody gets up, then everybody starts getting up. And it's so we kind of have to be quiet in our room for a while if we're going to do anything. Like, I'm a morning person, but you can't talk to me for the first 10 minutes. So I have to lay in my bed and wake up really. And then when I leave, so I go and exercise. That's my main thing to get up. I have to get the exercise done, otherwise it won't happen. And I have to put it on really low, the DVD. And the kids have clocks in their rooms, and they're not supposed to come out until a certain time, or when they hear me being done exercising, then they can come out and start on their work,
Okay. So what age did you say you started on that, with that?
The training? It hasn't been that long, because I was, I don't know, lazy. Like, I would say I'm going to exercise, and then it wouldn't work out because the kids would come out and bother me. So I've only been exercising consistently for about a year, because that was when I finally said, no, you can't be out here when I'm exercising, because Misty knows they're all ISJs in my house. And so if I do anything to modify the exercise, they will correct me. So you just can't be in the room. So they're not allowed out when I'm exercising. It's like, I know I'm doing this differently because I have to. I'm not as good as the person on the TV.
Well, at least if being SJs, then they all will. You tell them the rule, they know how to follow. They not
do.
They're going to lawyer their way out of it.
Right.
I have some who are better than others about those kind of rules. So.
I found my kids, all I require of them is that if they get up, they're quiet, and allow me to do what I'm doing, quietly, and they're pretty good to do that. And I find seasons are different. Like in winter, when I get up, it's dark and it's quiet, and I like to sit down with my tea and do my reading. And in summer, it's more, there's light, and I feel more energetic. And so how I find that the kids stay asleep longer in the winter as well, just because it's darker. And then in the summer, they do start getting up earlier. So I have this issue more in the summer that they'll get up before I'm ready for them. I do have, I like to go for a walk, and I do often just include them. If I do that, just take them along for the walk. So
that's good. Yes, there will be a replay. So, and there isn't an Android app. I'm sorry. There's an Apple app, but not an Android app. But you can just use Chrome, the browser, on your Android phone. Yep, there we go. Caroline. So how about you, Nina? How about mornings and what your kids are doing when you get up in the morning and that sort of thing?
Well, we actually moved our kids into what is the dining room of our house. We live in a small brick house, and the dining room, we just put a curtain across the one doorway into it, and it doesn't have any windows, so they're not getting up super early in the summertime. And then because the walls are brick, it's quieter. So that's working for us, and we started doing that a couple summers ago. Daylight savings was necessity, which was getting up so early. And like, it's not daytime yet. It's not day. It's not morning. You have to stay. So yes, I haven't really trained them. We do let them get up, and in fact, I'll wake them up because I want to spend time with my husband in the evenings. And if they're getting up too late, then they're not going to bed early enough. So I'm very jealous of that time in the evening. And if they stay up, an hour late, I'm just, very frazzled. So I do care more about the evening, even though I am a morning person and I am an introvert. I do like that quiet time to myself. I guess in this season, I'd rather them be asleep and at night. So
that's
what works.
That's right. That's how you have to think of the whole big picture of the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
My best friend Amy commented that her boys are 3, 5, and 1, and they have one of those fun clocks that turns green, and that's when they're allowed to come out, and that works really well for them. And they can just be loud and playing in their room, but they don't come out until the clock is green. And I thought that's super fun if you could train your kids before they can understand and read time.
I have a friend who put a lamp on a timer. So it's something like the lamp plugs into the timer that plugs into the wall. And so it doesn't, it just will click on a timer. And so when the light was on was when you could get up in the morning. So there are different things like that help with. My girls still have the clock from I think I did it with my older 2 boys. I drew lines to show what 7 o'clock was. Like, this is what 7 o'clock looks like. So you can't come out of your room until 7 o'clock. And that worked really well for us for quite a while. But, it worked with my older 2 who were introverts. So they really didn't mind staying in their room and having kind of some alone time themselves, because they did usually wake up earlier. But they would read, and they kind of, they didn't mind. And then, my daughter she was pretty good with it. And then I had over the top extrovert rules lawyer. And it was just horrible every morning trying to, it just didn't work. Over and over, trying, it just didn't work. And so now we just have, you can't talk to me before 7. You can be up, he'll get up and he'll read now that he can read, but something just hit the side of our house. Then goes a Frisbee. Oh. Anyway, hopefully not a bird. But, just kind of changing the expectations and figuring out, okay, it worked for 3 kids for having them stay in their room, and just finally getting to the point where admitting, like, this just isn't going to work. I'm spending more energy and time trying to grab this. It was becoming evident that on my part, this was just, I'm selfish. This was me saying, no, you can't, you have to. And saying, okay, what are I could make this work still. I could have different expectations, or I can go to I can still have quiet or alone time if I go to a different part of the house. It doesn't mean he has to be in his room, because actually if he's in his room, he's going to be bothering his introvert brothers anyway. So it's better to let him out of his room. I just kept finding, different things work at different times and with different kids. So,
yeah.
So what are some of the things that you try to get done in the morning with or without the kids around? I like the idea of taking the kids on a walk. So at PAI, though, it's probably cold and dark when you're taking a walk.
It's cold and dark now. No. I was talking about the summer. I was just saying that seasons are different.
Right.
In the summer, it starts getting light earlier, and then that's when we do that. In the winter, they tend to sleep later for me.
Okay.
So,
but do you take a walk in the cold dark?
I don't know.
Okay. I was be super impressed. Like, I just can't even.
No.
No,
it wouldn't be safe a lot of the time because of the snow and the just in the winter you just have to kind of give it up.
Yeah. Hence the exercise videos.
That's right. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you guys do in the early mornings? Or not necessarily early, but first things.
So you mean everything that goes from when we wake up until we officially start the school day, or
what do you think of as your morning things to get yourself ready for the day or going for the day? Or
so just us,
just your personal things. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My main thing is just the exercising. I need to wake up my brain a bit, like I said, laying in bed, and then exercise, and everything else is more negotiable about when it maybe could happen. Like I want to log on and check my emails and have a couple tasks that I do, and look my weekly review so I can do my morning review. Those things kind of different times, it's right before breakfast, or it's after breakfast, or it's right before we start school. There's a lot of leeway as to when a lot of things can happen, except the exercising.
That's kind of how I feel about spending time in the Word, because if my day gets derailed, then I always think, oh, I didn't spend that time communing with God first. I'm just not ready for this day. I'm not ready to face these children and their demands, and the discipleship that they require. So that's become the non-negotiable for me, is just, and I even take my Bible to bed with me now. So it's right there in the morning. I don't even have to get out of bed, and just spend a few minutes reading and in prayer before I even get out of bed. And if I have the time, then I will spend more time in study, but just to, commit this day to the Lord before my feet even hit the floor. And that's the most important thing to me. It really changes my attitude, and especially when, you're having to deal with little sinners first thing in the morning and you're not ready. I'm not ready.
So I like that you found so you start that before you've even gotten out of bed.
Yes. And I think, Misty, that you were the person that I read something that you did a long time ago, I think, or it was a podcast that you did about making your to-do list the night before. And that was just genius. And I'm not lying in bed like trying to remind myself of all the things I need to remember for the morning.
Right.
Just prepping the day, thinking about dinner the night before and all of these things just make the morning go so much smoother.
And even things like it's kind of whatever this morning time is a limited time, and it is like put the most important things there. And so what makes the cut, how does it flow? And I find even things like when I can take a walk outside and get that fresh air and things, like I can combine things and say like, okay, while I'm walking, like when I'm walking this stretch, this is what I'm praying about. And while, and kind of combine those things too, and just figuring out different kinds of solutions.
I like that idea. The thing with seasons and walking and whatever for me is that when I combine things, then the next season, when they fall apart, I have to think again, okay, when am I going to do this? Like if I use the time to listen to my Bible reading app and maybe pray while I'm walking, then when winter comes and I'm no longer walking outside, I have to decide how I'm going to continue to fit that in. So it's a continual reworking and things sometimes fall apart. I find winter, my early morning getting up and whatever works really well because it's cozy and I just, I have my routine. Summer, I start going for walks but then fall comes, and fall, it starts getting darker, and I find things really fall apart in the fall for me. So I have to be deliberate about figuring it out again. And I have to be honest, the last couple of months haven't gone very well for me, but I know that I will work it out again. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. I know I've successfully done it before, and I just have to get back on and wobble a bit and keep going again. Yeah. One app that I find really helpful is the 30/30 app on my iPhone. It's 30/30, the number. And it's good for creating a routine of things that last a certain amount of time. I also find it good for just keeping going, I guess. I get up in the morning and I feel kind of groggy and if I just get that timer going on the 30/30 app, get the timer going, okay, get dressed, that takes 10 minutes, clean the washroom, 5 minutes, start a load of laundry, 5 minutes, and it just keeps running through those things, and I just keep doing the next thing. I find that really helps when I'm setting up a morning routine. And then eventually I don't need the app anymore. I don't need that timer running because it's, second nature or habit or whatever. But it really helps in the beginning when I get going.
Yeah, alarms and timers help a lot.
Yeah.
And so is that one that keeps track of like a streak for you?
No.
Or is it just pretty much a timer?
It's a timer, but you set it up so there's you can make a list of things that you have to do in order, and how long each of them will take, and you set the first one going, and it runs for that amount of time, and then it dings, and then you go on to the next thing, and it runs for that amount.
Yeah.
So it goes through the list.
Yeah, that would really help with the morning routine.
I use it for school too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one thing I've found, well, it's something that Rachel Jankovic has said a number of times, that when the morning routine doesn't happen, and like when I put Bible reading and prayer and all that in my morning routine, if that morning routine falls apart, because really even on good streaks, my morning routine is about at 80%. Maybe that's a good streak. If 80% of the time, because, kids get sick or I get sick or we're out late or something. And like other people have said here, you can't sacrifice sleep for very long and still be sane, still keep everything together. So there are times where it's like, well, no, actually sleep is more important than my morning routine right now. But so still having other pockets of the day where it's like, if it didn't happen here, it can happen here. And I finding those spots for exercise just really doesn't happen. But it's like I can sit down and pick up my Bible at any time of the day, actually. So I can't let myself get into the point where it's like, well, it didn't happen when I wanted it to happen, and I didn't have this moment that I wanted to happen, and so now it's never going to happen. Now I'm just like, doomed. This day we'll just get through it and start again tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I find that if you have routines for other parts of the day than just the morning, then if your morning routine doesn't go as planned, then you just jump into the next routine, like the school routine or the after lunch routine or the evening routine. If one of them doesn't work out, then you can just jump into the next one and hopefully not lose everything.
Right. Especially when a lot of those, there are different routines that have prayer and different things attached to them. Like if you are doing something like morning time, just letting myself realize, okay, this is a pause right here built in where you can pray and get your attitude back together again here. Because even if I did, needs to happen multiple times a day.
Yeah. And praying and reading the Bible with your kids counts. I have to tell myself that, because that happens several times a day in my other routines as well. So if it doesn't happen in the morning by myself, all is not lost. Because it counts when you do it with your children too, I think. You're not losing that opportunity to build a relationship with God. It's just a more communal thing, I guess, when your kids are with you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's actually my favorite part of our homeschool day. We call it our morning blessing, and we just read the proverb of the day and have, each day is a different topic for a prayer. And sometimes it's just that simple. It's just those two things. Those are the non-negotiables. But it does help if my morning is off or derailed, to have that reset. And like you were saying, Mystie, just remembering that the whole day is not ruined and doomed. Just if you have a bad moment. And I think just having that mental attitude of, okay, I need to stop and pause for a moment, and then, repent and move on.
It's hard to balance that, knowing like, no, this is the most important thing I can do right now. This is what I should be spending my time doing, along with, and there are other times to do it too. If this one doesn't, it's
right.
If it's like they're both true. Like that is an important integral piece of the morning is, I love the C.S. Lewis quote where he says, like, the first duty of every morning is to put aside all those thoughts that like jump to your head first and, set your mind on things that are above. Like that's something we should be doing. But there are lots of different, like sometimes that will look like 30 minutes or 15 minutes of scripture reading and devotional. And sometimes that's going to look like just 5 minutes before you get out of bed. You're still in bed it still counts as part of your morning routine if you're doing it while you're still in bed and haven't even put your feet on the floor. And, there are different ways that it can look and will look even in your own life at different times.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So how about ways to beat morning grogginess? Like the laying in bed and you're like, I just don't want to. Do you have tips to share? How do you roll out of bed and get started?
Get up at the same time as your husband. You get out of bed when you both get out of bed. It's like everybody's getting up, nobody's staying here anymore.
My husband's usually the last one up, so
yeah,
I can't do that.
I think making it appealing, having those things set in your morning that you look forward to, you know, and just like with exercise, you know, we never regret spending time in the Word or praying. And then I like to light a candle and play some soft music. That really helps me. And I know somebody asked, what about, you know, for people who don't drink coffee? I'm with you. I don't do caffeine. I mean, I'm drinking decaf here, but I totally understand, because I don't have that, you know, surge of adrenaline to, you know, feed off of. So you just have to mentally prepare yourself. And so just, you know, having those things that you look forward to, or sitting outside for those kind of things to make your morning appealing, whatever, you know, appeals to your personality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think you can work with the grogginess a little bit. Like if you do wake up kind of slowly, you can make your tea or coffee or whatever, and sit down with a book or with your Bible and just take half an hour to just slowly wake up with that. Yeah. That's not my personal way. I usually like to just get going, force myself, like I said, with the app the timer that I use, that I, you know, just kind of force myself to keep moving through the items on my list. That works better for me. And I agree with Nina that making it worth it for yourself, like something to look forward to, something that's really meaningful to you that you don't get done otherwise, that can keep you going.
I think kind of in that same line, like I don't look forward to getting up and exercising. Like I don't think of it as like, oh, this is super fun or something. But what I started doing, and I think it must have been on something of Mystie's somewhere, and I can't remember because I've like read all her stuff, so it's just all a blur now. But like one of the things on the weekly review was, you know, what can I do today to make tomorrow easier? So, or for the evening review. And so I lay out my yoga mat at 8 o'clock at night. one of the first times I did, I thought, this is silly. I should just lay it out at 6. And I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm really going to want to lay it out at 6 more than I want to lay it out right now. I mean, so I lay out the kids' morning work. We try to get as much done to really smooth the way in the morning, so that when you wake up, everything it's set, it's ready, it's kind of brainless, you know, like that's why I do an exercise DVD. I don't have to think, just push play and do what she's doing and don't have to think. So my mornings have to be like, just it's set and ready to go. I don't have to make decisions or do anything. Save my brain power for later.
Yeah. And I think finding that thing, even if it's, you know, it's maybe not, it's like it's something that you want to do or know that you will enjoy once you get started. But even still, sometimes starting is still the hardest part, right? And so one thing that I've noticed, like when I was trying to learn the habit of making my bed for years and years and not succeeding, because I still didn't really, I wanted to learn the habit, but I still didn't actually care. And what finally made it click was after making my bed, taking that moment and noticing and looking at it and even just saying, oh, this actually looks really nice. And just like a half second of paying attention to what I'm doing and what I have done and its effect. And the same thing with like clearing the counter in the kitchen, like stopping for just half of a second afterwards and saying, this is nice. I like this. And suddenly, then I started getting traction on those kind of habits. And so even though maybe the exercise isn't enjoyable, like afterwards thinking, look at how many steps do I have already? And I'm starting the day ahead. Or, I feel great. And, I have that. I don't always, it depends on what I did. I don't always feel great. But like, this is, just some kind of way this was good. Or, lighting the candle and enjoying the moment, even while making just finding those, like taking the moment to pause and enjoy the moment and remind yourself like, this is good. I think
I like that idea.
It makes a bigger difference than we'd think for such a small little thing.
Yeah, I don't naturally notice things visually very much, so that's a good idea.
I would
deliberately
say
notice.
I'm a new convert to the idea that I don't have to love it. It's just been in the past few years realizing I'm not gonna love everything I have to do today, but it still needs to be done. I don't know if it was growing up watching Disney movies. I just felt like I needed to follow my heart. My heart never my heart, doesn't want to do this work. And, on Sunday, our pastor said, he was quoting Kevin DeYoung, and he said, effort is not a 4-letter word. And it really stuck out to me because that's how we kind of perceive it. Oh, you're either a morning person, you either like cleaning your house, or you like homeschooling, or you like, being around lots of screaming children, or you don't. And it's not necessarily that way, and we can train ourselves. And I will say, I'm about 3 years in this process of sanctification so far, that, my prayer that God would give me a love for what needs to be done has really been answered in a lot of ways. And like you said, Misty, just seeing the reward and seeing, the blessing that it is to my family. And when I get up and I start our day well, and just seeing how that blesses each person in our family versus being frazzled and grumpy and saying, everybody stay away from me. It's really a huge difference. And so I would just encourage anyone who thinks, I'm just not a morning person or that kind of thing, just to put in the effort of trying some of these things, not everything at one time, but just put the effort in, even if you don't feel like it. Because I don't feel like it. Most days I don't feel like it.
Yeah. Like the fruit comes after the work. Yeah. Is there any kind of morning tip or different thing that you want to share before we wrap up?
I could tell you my favorite alarm sound.
Oh, sure.
I find most alarms so grating, and they cause an adrenaline rush first thing in the morning, which I really dislike. But Apple has a birdsong sound on my iPhone, and I just put that on, and it starts with some quiet birds, and then it gets a bit louder. But it usually doesn't wake anyone else up, which is nice.
That's nice.
So I hear the birds, but no one else seems to notice them. So I like that one.
That's a good one. I think Nina's best tip so far is to have your Bible right there, right next to you.
Yeah.
Do you have any others?
I use different songs as alarms. I think you talked about that in one of your podcasts, Misty. And so I have, our favorite hymns that play, and it's, not alarming, but it's just that audible reminder, okay, we're moving on to this time of our day, and that's helpful. I really like that tip.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing that sets you up for success for getting up in the morning is going to bed on time.
Yes.
And I'm not always successful with that, but I know that if I want to do that, that's the biggest thing. And having an evening routine so that I'm not playing catch up in the morning too.
Mm-hmm.
Like not leaving the dishes or whatever for the morning, because I used to do that. I think it's just been the last year that I've successfully conquered that one.
Mm-hmm.
Do the dishes the night before, and then you wake up in the morning and you can get going.
Well, and it's how you start the morning. Do you start the morning feeling behind, or feeling like, oh look, this is just the next day. Like, look at that, I'm capable. The dishes are done. I can't say that because my husband does the dishes.
I know you talked about setting the stage, Misty, and that's what I try to think of. Okay, I'm just, instead of viewing like the housework or whatever as just horrible, because I just cleaned this, but just, okay, we use this, and this house is for our use, and now it needs to be reset for our next use. And someone had said in the comments, blessing yourself for tomorrow or something like that. And, it really is huge when you wake up and it's like, this is so nice, everything is ready.
Yeah. It's a work in progress.
Yes.
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 Yes. Because sanctification is for life, and God is not through with any of us. And even Misty, he's not through with Misty, even though she has all the best tips.
Not done, that's for sure. We're not here, so they would tell you.
Our family, it's evolving. This is an appropriate way to use the word evolution, guys. But we need to adapt to that, as we have more children or different seasons. So just because something is working for us right now, I don't know what tomorrow will bring. And just be flexible to change if you need to.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's right. Yes. Looking at the comments, getting to bed and having enough sleep is for sure a big deal. And when babies aren't sleeping, then sleep's the priority for sure.
Yes. And to everyone who has babies, I would just say, they're not going to be a baby forever. Just, kind of hang on, because it'll be over soon. And if it's not working, just, pray the Lord would sustain you, because they won't be a baby forever. And,
even
you'll get over
the point where they are like 2 or just after that, they're changing so much, like at least every 3 months or not. So even as you're trying to build habits or, learn something new, trying out new routines, just think of iteration. This is just one step, and it's not like trying to set up a whole new life in the morning, because things will have to adjust and change frequently. The younger the kids, the more frequently it's going to have to change. And that's not because your habit was wrong or because you aren't doing it right. That's just kind of the nature of having small children.
Yes.
Just when we get a routine, it changes.
Yep.
So true. So on that note, I did want to, this is like the first time that I'm saying what's up next in the Simplified Organization lineup. Last year we did Sweep and Smile, which was a 6-week like housework routine accountability program, which was a lot of fun. There were like daily texts and forum talks and lots of emails with an audio format. And it really, like, those are my morning and evening routines still. It helped a lot. And the feedback that I got was that people wanted the same sort of thing for their own personal habits. So I've been mulling on that, and we're going to do that for January. So I'm calling it Humble Habits, and it is not going to be about getting up early. That is not one of the habits that you need. But it is some of the first little baby steps to take whenever you do get up, whether or not it's before the kids, no matter what time it is, still starting with prayer in a baby step kind of way. And starting with a kind of exercise or movement habit, but that doesn't mean like having to do a half-hour DVD or walk or whatever. So really taking a step back instead, because I know myself many times I've like put together the whole plan of like, these are the changes that I want to make in my life. And so I got it all planned out, set it all up the night before, right? Because in the morning when I wake up, I'm going to be totally different and my life will be totally different, and I'll do it a whole new way. And it doesn't actually work. Even if it works Monday, Tuesday is bound to be a bad day.
That's how it always is.
Yep. So this is about, the first day it might work, but not that second day. So this is about taking baby steps first, and then figuring out what is the next step for you in your life and situation right now. So you can click the green link there to learn more about that. It'll start January 5th. But there's a grand opening, if you will, sale today through Friday. It's $5 off. That's automatic. There's no discount code or anything. It's just on sale for the next 3 days. And maybe hearing more about that later. And I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a lot of fun, I think. So,
yes. For anyone who didn't take the Sweep and Smile, like, it was awesome. And so I bet you'll really love this one. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. So thank you guys for joining me, and we'll have to do this again sometime. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.